It was meant to be just another late-night TV spot. Some laughs, light banter, maybe a couple of awkward jokes followed by polite applause. But what unfolded on The Tonight Show that night didn't just ruin Meghan Markle's week, it cracked the carefully polished image she had been protecting for years. And all it took was a single line from Jimmy Fallon. At first, it didn't sound like much. Fallon was doing what he always does, smiling, tossing playful jabs, and poking fun at celebrities with that boyish charm that makes him seem harmless. But then, with a grin, he dropped the line that would change everything. Some people are princess material, others are yacht party material. The crowd erupted. Not with awkward giggles, not with polite chuckles, but with roaring laughter. Backstage, cameras caught the exact moment Meghan's smile faded. This wasn't just a dig, it was a public rebranding, a stamp on her identity that millions heard in real time. Fallon wasn't just teasing. He was saying out loud what critics have whispered for years. Meghan didn't truly belong in the royal story. Her past was too loud, too Hollywood, too ambitious to ever fit the crown. And with that one punchline, years of effort, the shift from royal bride to media mogul to feminist figurehead took a devastating blow. Because let's be real, that joke struck a nerve for a reason. The term yacht girl has haunted Meghan online for years. Rumors, never confirmed, but endlessly repeated, tied her to Hollywood circles, exclusive parties, and whispered connections long before Prince Harry. Like most gossip, it didn't need evidence. It just needed repetition. And Fallon gave those rumors a primetime spotlight, broadcast across America, the very place Meghan had been banking on for her big post-royal comeback. And that's what hurt the most. Within hours, the clip went viral everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. People were remixing it into memes, cutting in old paparazzi shots of Meghan in sundresses on boats alongside Fallon's words. Hashtags like #hashtag yacht girl Meghan and # PRP princess trended worldwide. For someone who's fought harder than almost anyone to control her public narrative, this was catastrophic. Because you can't control memes. Once a joke hits the bloodstream of the internet, it takes on a life of its own. And Meghan knew it. The worst part? She couldn't fight back. If she responded, she'd look bitter and thin-skinned. If she stayed silent, she'd look weak. Either way, she lost. Her PR team tried to step in, but this wasn't a scandal that could be smoothed over with a statement. And the silence from her usual defenders made everything worse. No supportive tweets from A-list friends, no Hollywood allies jumping in to back her. The quiet was deafening. Fallon had, whether intentional or not, done what years of royal experts and endless tabloid columns could never do. He turned Meghan Markle into a punchline. And once that happens, the brand is no longer yours to protect. And it came at the worst possible moment. Meghan had just launched season 2 of her Netflix-backed project, With Love, Meghan. It was designed to reset her public image, to show her as relatable, grounded, less royal, and more real. But the show landed flat. Viewers called it dull, just that. Critics called it soulless. And suddenly Fallon's yacht girl joke was stitched into clips of her cooking jam in a mansion kitchen. Viral TikToks even overlaid laugh tracks onto footage of her walking through vineyards, branding her yacht girl in the wild. It wasn't just mockery anymore. It was sabotage. And behind the scenes, sources say Meghan was furious. Reports described meltdown mode, shouting, demands for statements, panic meetings with her team. She felt betrayed, not just by Fallon, but by Hollywood itself. This was supposed to be her territory, her stage. Yet the same industry she came from was now laughing at her, reducing her to a stereotype she's tried desperately to outrun. Even more devastating, no one stepped in to defend her. Not Oprah, not Ellen, not the producers who once promised her creative freedom. Silence. And in Hollywood, silence speaks volumes. It wasn't that they agreed with Fallon. It was that they didn't want to be linked to someone who suddenly looked like a sinking ship. And once late-night comedians saw blood in the water, they piled on. One joked, She'd star in Pirates of the Caribbean: Return of the Yacht Girl. Another said her next Netflix special should be called The Duchess of Desperation. This wasn't just Meghan being teased. This was a feeding frenzy. But the real damage wasn't in the jokes themselves. It was what they implied. Fallon's line gave weight to years of suspicion that Meghan's story was less about love and service and more about status and spotlight. And when the public starts to believe your image is manufactured, the downfall comes fast. From here on, every new project, every new podcast, every new series Meghan launches will come with baggage. Instead of curiosity, people will hear echoes of Fallon's punchline. Here comes the yacht girl again. Hollywood has a short memory for success, but a long memory for embarrassment. And Meghan had just learned that the hard way. Even her private world wasn't safe from the fallout. Insiders whispered about tensions with her team, whether her advisors were helping or hurting her image. And then there was Harry's silence. No statement, no playful clapback, nothing. His careful stillness only fueled speculation. Did he secretly agree with the joke? Was there growing distance behind the scenes? Because when your wife is publicly roasted and you say nothing, people notice. The truth is, Fallon's joke didn't just expose a weak spot in Meghan's image. It revealed fragility. Her entire brand has always been about control, perfectly curated shots, intentional quotes, carefully crafted messages. But no amount of control can protect you from a gut punch of a joke that confirms what people already suspect. And that's why it went viral. Not because it was the funniest joke ever told, but because it fed into an idea people were already willing to believe, that Meghan never truly fit. Not in the royal family, not in Hollywood royalty. Caught in between, trying too hard to belong everywhere, and ending up belonging nowhere. Some of her defenders tried to argue that Fallon's line was sexist or classist, or yet another example of how women in the spotlight are judged unfairly. But those defenses never gained traction. Not because they weren't valid, but because they were too late. The narrative had already moved on. And that's what makes this moment so devastating. Years of careful rebranding unraveled in just 7 words and a smirk. No leaked tapes, no explosive scandal, just one joke, and the internet ran with it. Industry insiders have already started treating Meghan's situation as a textbook case of narrative collapse. Streaming platforms are reportedly cautious, projects are quietly being delayed, and even influencers who once praised her are deleting posts. Her Netflix numbers have slumped, because Fallon's joke wasn't just a moment. It became the moment. The turning point that reframed everything she had built, and everything she might try to build next. And the brutal truth is, years from now, people may not remember the name of Meghan's Netflix show, her speeches, or even her brand deals. But they'll remember Jimmy Fallon's line, because the laughter didn't just echo, it stuck.